day, future entrepreneurs. Welcome to our lesson 2 in our course, the Entrepreneurial Mind. So for this lesson, we will discuss entrepreneurial values and intrinsic programs. I will also have another video kasama din siya sa lesson 2, which is the cash flow quadrant. So let's have a short review in our past lesson. So if you can still remember, we defined what an entrepreneur is, entrepreneurship, and even the enterprise. And then I also discussed the functions of entrepreneur, ano ba yung natutulong sa economy at sa atin as a person, ang pagiging entrepreneur, and also we discussed different types of entrepreneur. If you can still remember also, meron doong pre-test activity wherein parang i-check or ma-assess mo yung sarili mo whether you are meron ka ng mga characteristics ng isang na meron dapat ang isang entrepreneur. So dito naman, we will assess kung meron ka na ba ng mga values and mindset, okay, um, na as an entrepreneur. But again, I don't want to give you a false hope na kapag ka meron ka ng ganitong mindset, you will be, tas nag-engage ka in a business, you will be a successful one. But there could be a possibility. Okay, I really hope for that. But I just want you to have or to assess yourself, and if there is a wrong values, or if there are wrong values, if there are wrong intrinsic programs na na-implant sa mind natin when we were young, ayan, mula nung bata tayo, ma-assess na natin, and then unti-unti mabago na natin kasi it's not instant to change the values and intrinsic programs that you have. So, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the difference between values. Ano ba talaga yung yung meaning ng values? We always talk about it. Bata ka pa lang naririnig mo na to. And what are intrinsic programs? Okay, ano yung program? Ano yung programming sa isip natin? Number 2 is identify different values and intrinsic programs that you personally believed in. So yun. So ito talaga yung gusto kong ma-achieve nitong topic or itong lesson na to, which is you're going to assess yourself what are your values and what are your intrinsic programs na natutunan mo ever since before or natutunan mo lang later on. And number 3 is to understand the cash flow quadrant. So that would be an exciting one. Ayan. So let's define first what the values are. Okay, so what is a value? So values are the things that we consider as absolute certainties in our lives. Parang ito yung sure, ito yung totoo sa buhay natin. Ito yung pinaniniwalaan natin na totoo sa buhay natin. Number 2, individual beliefs that motivate people to act one way or another and serve as a guide for human behavior. Most of the time, we act, we decide based on our values, based on what we believe in na totoo, based on what ano yung paniniwala natin on our own. These values can be formed in either a positive or negative way. So, di naman porket sinabing values is puro tama, ayan, it can have a good effect on you. Somehow, okay, hindi naman lahat, pero somehow, there are some values na napo-form sa atin na um, pwedeng in the near future ay medyo maging negative yung effect sa atin. For example, this is a positive value, di ba? Loyalty is more important than anything else. Positive naman yung loyalty, di ba? Pero, di ba, there will come a time, di ba, na dahil kung sobra naman itong pag-value mo sa loyalty, baka naman may maapakan ka na tao, di ba? So, in contrast, halimbawa naman, there is a CEO na ang value niya is hindi siya tumatanggap ng excuse. Ayan, halimbawa, unang pagkakamali mo okay pa, pero kapag may repeated inaccuracies na, may repeated na pagkakamali ka na, hindi ka na tumatanggap ng excuses. So, it could be a positive one. Ayan, syempre parang medyo matuto itong employee mo na to, but it could be a negative one. Mali mo, hindi, mahirap talagang matutunan itong isang trabaho na to. So, yun. So, it could affect the employee in a negative way. So, but overall, it is imperative then that one must get to know his benefits. So, makita mo kung anong benefits ng mga values na meron ka and i-rank mo ito because our values serve as our guides. Diba? Sabi nga dito, it is a guide for human behavior. You decide based on what you value, based on your values. You decide based on what you believe as the absolute certainty or the absolute truth. Okay, so um, values have three categories. So una, inherited values. There are also, kung magsa-search kayo ng mga categories ng values, mayroon din personal values, work values, and etong categories of values that we're going to discuss today is yung mga sa mo nakuha itong values na ito na meron ka. Una, inherited, compensatory, or self-generated. So let's discuss each of these. Um, Inherited values are values that have been consciously or unconsciously passed on to you by your parents, guardians, teachers, and people close to you during your childhood. If you will remember, or kung natutunan nyo na to or narinig nyo na ito dati, sobrang laki ng papel ng parents una, and syempre ng mga um, kindergarten teacher natin, yung mga teachers natin mula 1 to 7 years old tayo. So, yung palagi natin nakakasama, palagi natin narinig. Because, iyon yung ano iyon yung window na kung saan, or yun yung age window na kung saan whatever you hear is an absolute truth for you or absolute certainty for you, nagiging value mo. For example, kung lumaki ka sa mga palagi nagmumura, ganyan. So, pag bata ka, kahit bata ka pa lang, matututunan mo lang magmura, di ba? Kasi for you, as a young as a young child, akala mo, tama yon kasi they are doing that, di ba? So, yun. Tapos, meron namang mga inherited values nila, for example, na yung kapag yung parents mo mahilig sa mga charity works, ayan, so na-adapt mo yung value na yun to help others. Ayan, yung halimbawa sa value ng family is patriarchal, palaging yung tatay nyo yung nagde-decide in the family, madalas, ayan. So, maiisip mo na, ito yung tama. So, ito yung gagawin mo. So, yun. So, that is inherited values. Na-adapt mo siya, na-inherit mo siya. Or halimbawa sa pagmamanage ng pera, halimbawa nagkaroon kayo ng pera, tapos nakita mo sa parents mo kapag nagkaroon sila ng pera, gastos agad. So, bili agad natin, ubusin agad natin itong pera na to. It could happen to you also, di ba? So, kapag ka ngayon nagkaroon ka ng pera, iniisip mo tuloy agad ngayon, maggastos. Pwede naman in the same way, kung ang nakita mo naman or ang na-implant naman sa'yo na value is to save money. So, kapag meron kayo na-receive na pera, you should be grateful and then save it. Ayan. So, iyon yung matututunan mo ngayon. So, yun. So, again, whether we like it or not, there are some values that we have right now, ayan, na na-inherit lang natin when we were still kids or we were still child. Or we were still children. So, I remember lang, so may nabasa akong post before sa Facebook na parang meron silang si student or yung bata, may tinuro sa kanila yung teacher na parang medyo mali about sa math, parang fraction, gano'n. Tapos, sabi nung mami niya, anak, ganito yung tamang way dyan, ganyan. Ayaw maniwala ng bata. So, sabi ng teacher ko, ganito daw. So, di ba? So, parang sabi doon nung parents na, this should serve as a lesson for the teacher. So the teacher really has a great impact to the lives of their students, especially when sa mga bata. So yun, so those are inherited values. So yun, kahit anong characteristics, kahit anong attitude yung na-adapt mo na akala mo tama when you were young, ayan. So those are inherited values. Now, ayan, I want you to assess yourselves. So what do you think are the inherited values or yung mga values na na-inherit mo from your parents, guardians, or even your teachers? So, yan. So, if you have extra time, you may type it down on the comment section. Next one, that's inherited values. Number 2 is compensatory values. What are these? Okay, from the word compensatory. These are the values that you have developed as an opposition to situations you had to face during your childhood. Okay, so meron kang na-encounter, pwedeng paulit-ulit na mga pangyayari, na dahil doon sa mga pangyayari na yon, nagkaroon ka ng na-develop na sa yung values to oppose those situation. For example, um, sa family mo, for example, palagi ka pinapagalitan. So, feeling mo, you're always getting criticized. Feeling mo, puro mali mo yung nakikita. Ayan. Pwedeng ma-form sa na value is to um, uh, mag-raise ng argument every time na meron kang maling nakikita. Then, so, kung meron kayong mga tao na kilala na ganun, it could, pwedeng halimbawa, yung kada maling makikita niya in the organization or kahit sa room nyo, ganyan, parang gusto niya palagi yung pinag-arguhan, pinag-uusapan, ganyan, na nakikipag-debate. It could happen na etong values na ito is na-adapt niya, it's a compensatory values because of what he or she experienced when he or she is still child. So, yun. So, for example naman, dahil palagi kang pinapagalitan, you learn to stay silent. Kahit ano namang sabihin ko, palagi namang mali ko yung nakikita, hindi man ako papakinggan. So, yun. So, halimbawa, busy yung parents mo, yung mga bata, typical na bata na dahil busy yung parents nila, hindi sila napapansin masyado sa bahay, sobrang papansin naman nila sa school, palagi naman sila nakikipag-away. So, yun. So, it could happen also. That's compensatory values. It is being developed as an opposition, as how you, because you are facing some situation na kailangan mong harapin when you were in your childhood. So yun, so those are compensatory values. And last one are self-generated values. Okay, so ano naman to from the word self-generated? Values that you have developed usually in a later part of your life by yourself. Okay, ito ano na siya, parang hindi na siya na-influence ng family mo. It could be, pero ikaw as your own, dahil syempre tumanda ka na, so na-realize mo na that this is what really matters to you. This is what you really value. They are neither inherited nor compensatory. Pwede itong because of what you experienced, because of what happened in your life, na-realize mo, halimbawa na lang, na-realize mo that happiness is more important than anything. Ayan. Or, na-discover mo na that yung delayed gratification, yung tiis ka muna ngayon habang ginagawa mo itong pangarap mo na ito dahil sa na-realize mo siya or na-experience mo siya. So, what you will do right now is parang iyon na yung things na na-value mo. It is self-generated. Pwede din na na-realize mo that money is doesn't matter anymore. What is important is your own happiness and everything. Pwedeng ganon, di ba? So those are self-generated values. So now, okay, um, one thing, okay, to parang isa sa step na pwede mong gawin for you to assess yourself if you want to have or to assess yourself sa mga decisions na ginagawa mo, sa mga sa pagde-decide mo if you will venture in a business, know your values first. What do you consider as absolute certainty in your life, absolute truth in your life? And through that, ma-develop sa sarili mo or ma-realize mo sa sarili mo that yung business na gusto mo or yung mga decisions na gagawin mo sa buhay is ano siya, directly proportional siya to the values that was implanted to you, to the values that were implanted to you mula nung bata ka hanggang sa na-self-generate. So those are values. Next topic that we will have is the intrinsic programs. So values, again, are the absolute certainties in our life. Medyo related sila ng intrinsic programs. Intrinsic programs are the second set of pillars you can use to get to know yourself. What are these? These are like the lines of code that define the person you are. So, yung intrinsic programs, these are parang yung mind kasi natin, meron siyang, kumbaga, as time passes by, may mga, dahil sa experiences natin, naririnig natin, natututunan natin, may mga na-program sa isip natin. So, yun. So that's mind programming. Ever since you were young. Okay, ever since we were young. So we have to keep in our mind that there are many intrinsic programs that can shape our personality. So I will discuss some of these intrinsic programs. These are just some. Okay, so meron pa rin iba, but I want you, as I discuss this, I want you to evaluate yourself. Ano ba ako dito sa intrinsic program na to? First one, ayan, these are the spectrum. There are towards person or away from person. So they are opposite. Options person and procedures person. There are in-time person and through-time person. There are detailed person and global person. And there are feeling person and thinking persons. Okay? So let's see. Okay, ano ba yung, or just be honest enough with yourself. Wala namang pang-judge dito because me too, I admit that some of the programs that I have is really wrong. So, or hindi siya makaka-help in my entrepreneurial journey. Okay, so let's start with the first one, the towards person. What are the towards person? This is someone who tends to be motivated by reaching a goal. Kung meron kayong kakilala na mas na-motivate sila um, dahil merong nakaset na goal, meron silang inaay na goal, so those are towards person. Ano yung move away from person? These are motivated by doing everything to avoid a situation. So you will do something, you will decide on something para medyo mapigilan mo or maiwasan mo itong pangyayaring ito. For example, yung towards person, for example, I want to be an entrepreneur because I want to be free and make my own decisions. So that's my goal. And I want to be rich. So ayun na yung mga goal ko as an entrepreneur. Yung move away from person naman, I want to be an entrepreneur because I never want to have a boss that tells me what to do. Ayan. So, kung ano yung mas matimbang siya, kasi ako, I am both. So, I have my goals, but I also don't want to have a boss that will tell me from time to time, oh, this is what you're going to do, na parang alila ka nila. So, yun. Um, so if you're like that, ayan, so assess yourself and you can write it down in the comment section. So towards people tend to integrate in their vocabulary words like our aim, ayan, what we want to achieve is ganito, ganyan, ganyan. While move away from individuals use words like what we want to avoid is this, blah, blah, blah. Or we want to make sure that um, we do not get net loss kasi sa through this project that we're going to do, through this product that we're going to launch. So yun. So those are the two intrinsic programs. Again, write it down if you're a towards person or a move away person. Okay. If you're going to look at it, may ano naman eh, may positive and may negative din naman at the same time na mga effect as kung lalo na kung entrepreneur ka, if you're more on towards or sa move away person. So yeah. Next is, ayan, options person or procedures person. Okay, options person is a person who wants to have multiple options. Ayan. Hindi ko matatahimik na isang option lang yung gagawin nyo. Wala kayong plan B, wala kayong plan C. Ayan. Si procedures naman, he wants to have a predefined set of options in order to minimize choices. Ito naman, si options hanggang plan Z, ganon. So, okay lang sa inyo na um, you're going to try all of those plans, all of those options. While si procedures person, meron din namang options, pero as much as he can, gusto niya na minimize lang yung choices. So, how are you going to identify them? Si options people, they use expressions like, we have several possibilities here. And then, okay, we can do this, we can do that. Or the choice we have to make is blah, 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 blah. So, while procedures people, they use expressions like, I think the process is ganito. So, we have to undergo this process. Dito lang tayo sa process na to. Or the system we have to put in place is blah, blah, blah. So, if you're going to look at it, si options person, mas open yung mind niya into different possibilities. While si procedures person, mas gusto niya may procedure, may method, may system. So gusto niya, relate lang yung options sa lahat ng ilalagay mo. Hindi yung, kasi ang options person is general eh. So marami kayong pwedeng i-explore. While si procedures, gusto niya isang sistema lang. So yun lang yung gagawin mo. So if you are like that, ayan, again, there is a positive and negative effect naman for both. Next is in-time person and true-time person. So what is this? Ayan. In-time person, they are fully indulged in the moment but forget what was before and what lies after. Okay, so na-enjoy nila yung present. Okay, so they sometimes, and they, because of the enjoyment in the present, they tend to forget what happened before and what will lie after. So what will happen after that situation. Si through time naman, they always keep in mind what is before and what is after in their agenda, but are less indulged in the present moment. So ito naman, um, ano siya, parang mindful siya sa past and the future, pero yung medyo hindi na niya tuloy na-enjoy yung present. Ayan. So, if you're like that, di ba? So, there are really some people who are like this. So, ako minsan, I am guilty to be a true time person. So, dahil this is my goal in the future. So, that's my, parang yun yung future agenda ko eh. So, that is what will happen in the future. So, because of parang yun, medyo nagiging killjoy ka in the present moment. Wherein you have to enjoy it. While sa in-time person, ang gusto niya, di ba? Let's just enjoy the moment while it happens. So yun. So when you interact with an in-time person, you might get suddenly cut off when he realizes what time it is because he easily loses track of time and you might not have even reached your goal for the meeting by that point. For example, yung mga in-time person, ito yung mga nag enjoy sa mga meetings, ayan. And then, minsan din yun na natatapos yung agenda nyo sa meeting because you really enjoy the moment. Yun. Whereas, syempre, di ba, parang, ano din yun, parang, somehow it's may negative impact kasi if you're in a company, wala kayong matatapos kasi hindi nyo natapos yung agenda nyo. Whereas, si True Time naman, siya naman yung taga-sabi na, oh, okay, let's go back to our topic, ganyan, 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 ganyan. So, yun. So, that's the true time person. So, siguro if you will have your own business in the future, ayan, or halimbawa partnership, yan, ganyan, check the intrinsic program na i-assess mo yung intrinsic program mo and the partners that you will have or corporation kung corporation man kayo. Tapos check nyo, 'di ba? Mas maganda kung merong mga in time tsaka may true time person para medyo nababalance nyo yung meeting. Ayan. Next is eto din, detailed and global person. Ayan. Si detailed person, um, he tends to catch one or two precise points when considering something and cannot move forward before they are sure they have perfectly understood. So kung meron kang kakilala, kahit kung sa classmate mo na pwedeng tanong ng tanong sa teacher mo, ayan, kasi for this particular, kahit small detail lang siya, pero gusto niya na maintindihan yun. Hindi tuloy kayo makausad sa lesson kasi gusto niya maintindihan niya mismo yun. So if you are like that, ako I am like that. So yun, so you are a detailed person. I am really a detailed person even sa klase, even sa um, pagtuturo. Ayan, if you, pag kung mapapansin nyo, I love details because I want you all to know all the details in this particular lesson. So, whereas, si global person naman, minsan nakakainis yung detailed person. Ako din, minsan nakakainis na rin ako kasi um, parang hindi naman na dapat tong sabihin, ganyan. Pero I really want to say this detail, ganyan, for you to know it, ganon. So yan, so si global person naman, they tend to always keep the big picture in mind and want, first and foremost, to understand the global mechanics of something. So ito yung parang general and specific. Si global person, they always look on the general aspect of something. I don't know, but I've learned before, and based on my observation, di ko naman ito sinasabi na as absolute truth. Hindi naman ito yung tama talaga. But most of the time, boys are like that. So they are general-minded. So they always think globally. They always want to understand the global mechanics of something. Whereas ang girls, they are into details. I don't know if napapansin niyo yun. So yun kapag sa kwentuhan, di ba, kaya yung mga babae, ang tagal-tagal na magkwentuhan because they love details. So ano sinabi niya, ganyan, ito yung reply niya, ganyan. So even the smallest details, ikukwento pa. So, yun. So, again, there is a positive side and a negative side into this. For example, kung meron kayong tinatrabaho na particular project in your company, tapos, may na-miss lang kayo na small detail 'di ba? Tapos, hindi mo alam na itong small detail na to will impact the results in a major way. 'Di ba? So, hindi natin alam, 'di ba, na at some point we will benefit from having a detailed person in the group to support us. That is why in any kind of team project, mas maganda talaga that there are detailed persons and there are global persons. Para kapag ka medyo sumusobra na sa details itong detailed person, medyo sasaluhin na ng global person. Tsaka yun nga, dahil nga sobrang ma-focus sa details ng mga detailed person, hindi na nila nakikita yung general, hindi na nila nakikita yung kung ano yung overall na pwedeng mangyari when they do these things. So, yun. So, ayan. So, that is the difference of the detailed and global person. Next is, last, feeling and thinking person. So, ito din, isa din ako sa guilty dito. Ayan. What are feeling persons? They react first based on how they feel about something or someone. If you know someone na, halimbawa may sinabi ka and then they will react based on what they feel. Halimbawa, oh, may aso, halimbawa, so may aso na um, pinapasok sa warehouse. I saw it on Facebook. So may aso na pinapasok sa warehouse because they parang gusto nila na etong hindi mainitan yung mga aso. So yun. So if you're a feeling person, oh, buti na lang ginawa nila yun, di ba? Iyak ka pa, ganyan. Because you will react based on how you feel. Halimbawa, ikaw yung may-ari ng warehouse na yun and you are a feeding person, di ba? You will be compassionate enough. So, sige, pasok kayo dito, di ba? Sige, papasukin niyo lahat ng stray dogs, ganyan. Pero if you're a thinking person, you will analyze situations in a very rational, intellectual way. So, isipin mo ngayon, pagiging objective ka, parang, oh, hindi naman sila makakatulong sa business natin. So, why are we going to adopt them? Or bakit din nila kailangan magstay sa warehouse natin? O kaya naman, um, di ba, parang baka mamaya pag may pumasok dito, tapos takulan nila, kagatin nila, di ba? So, yun, so those are thinking person. In one point or the other, ayan, feeling people will alert you on occasions where your thinking teammates might not have noticed what's going on. So, pwedeng hindi mo napapansin, di ba? Tapos, si feeling person yung magsasabi. But, kasi yung mga thinking person, they, they act intellectually. So, kailangan merong information, kailangan may idea based on what are they going to do. Pero minsan naman, 'di ba, kailangan din natin ng feelings to decide on what to do. So yun, so on the contrary, si thinking person will be much better when you need to stay calm and consider the situation in a very logical and practical way. Siyempre, pag meron nangyari, di ba, yung mga feeling person, they will react, they will panic, ganyan. Pero, again, si thinking person, parang sila yung pampakalma. Teka lang, isipin muna natin to. We have to think in a logical and a practical way. So again, in a company, it is really better to have this, or in an organization, it is really good to have feeling persons and thinking persons. So if you're like that, write it down in the comment section, or you can share a particular situation that you experienced this, or you applied, or you became a feeling or a thinking person. So again, these are the intrinsic programs that we have: towards or away from person, options or procedures person, in time and through time persons, detailed and global person, feeling and thinking persons. Okay? So, katulad kanina, di ba, know your values. Here, I also want you to know your intrinsic programs. Assess yourself, what are my values, what are the things that I have learned, and what are the intrinsic programs that I have. Am I too detailed? Am I a global one? Am I a feeling person, or am I a thinking person? Why? Because your values and your intrinsic programs will affect your decision making, will affect you in deciding on launching in a new business. Your intrinsic programs or your values will affect your decision making in any way. Kahit anong decision yan, the you will really decide on the things that you value and the intrinsic programs that were installed in your mind. So, yan. So I will stop this video here. On the next video, I will discuss the cash flow quadrant. So that's a quite exciting lesson. Wherein, ano din siya, meron din siyang part na the mind programming that we had even when we were still kids. Okay, so yun. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned a lot in this lesson. See you on the next videos.